Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of our StateMachine creation series. In this episode we will be working on adding animations to our player, as well as creating camera controls. So let's get started. This is how our game currently looks like. It's pretty decent, but we are missing some animations here. So let's stop the game and fix that. Let's create a folder named animation and a subfolder for player. Right click in a folder and create a new animation controller. Now click on the visual game object and add the animator component, and also reference the one we just created. And now we just need to create some animations, so click on Window, Animation, and select Animation. Add a new clip and save it in the player subfolder. What we need is idle, move, jump, and in air. So let's quickly create them. So now we have 4 different animations, and these are actually mine. I have a default one for idle, a shrinking one when moving, and also a shrinking one for jumping, and just one single frame for in air. Now let's open up the animator and rebuild the structure here. So create an empty state without any clip right here, so leave it empty, and set it as the default state. So right click on it and select set as default state. Now rearrange them a bit and also make all the transitions from any state to our created animations. Well, that's probably not the best way to do so, but in our case it's actually pretty fine. Select the parameters tab and create 4 booleans: move, jump, idle, and in air. And now just set the conditions by clicking on the arrow, which is pointed that state right here, and set the condition to, in this case, is the idle animation, so we need the idle condition here to be true, and to set the actual transition to the state. Also make sure to uncheck the has exit time box, as well as the fixed duration, and can transition to self. And do that for every other state that we see here. So let's quickly do it. When we create a new animation, Unity adds a default loop time in them. For some of our animations, we actually don't need that. And to fix that, just click on the animation in the Project Explorer here, and in the inspector, uncheck the loop time. So for us, it's the in air and the jump state. For idle and move, we definitely need loop time. Okay, now create a subfolder in scripts called animation and a script called animation manager. And also open it up and get rid of start and update. Okay, and create a serialized field, animator and animation. Now we need a function which is going to be responsible for activating our animation. So every substate will have its own animation, or basically every substate we select. But first let's create a public enum player animation for that, and let's put in our animation names in it. Make sure to name them correctly. They need to have the same name that your animations we just created. So it's idle, move, in air, and jump. And now we can create our function named setAnimation and playerAnimationAnimation. Because we're going to work with the enum values, or actual names here. We'll come back to that one in a second, but first let's actually fix the most important part here. Open up the player general, and in here we want to create a serialized field, animation manager, and a public getter for that. Now let's actually call our animations from our specific states. Remember, it's the idle, move, in air, and jump. Let's start with idle. And that part is actually pretty simple, so once we enter the state, we want the animation to be played. So in enter, just say player.animationmanager.setAnimation, and now just pass in the enum value for the animation. So in this case, it's playerAnimation.idle. Okay, now let's continue with move and do the same, but instead idle, we take move. And in air, we just take air, and in the jump state, we use the jump. If we run the game right now and perform some movement and input and stuff, the problem now is that every animation will be played, like basically laid on top of each other. And to fix that, we need to set them all to false except the one we need. What we can do here is to use the for each loop and set every bool flag to false. Remember, when we said our enum values have to be the same name as our animations we created. So we can use that advantage here to actually perform the loop and set the booleans to false. For that, we need to say player animation value in enum.getValues, and the values are type of player animation, so our enum we just created. And in there just say animator.setBoolean value the string, just because we need the string of that, and set that boolean to false. So once the for each is done, we can set the bool of our needed animation, so the animation we actually want to have, to true. Alright, let's run back into Unity and edit the prefab. And here create a new game object on the behavior named animation and add the animation manager to it. In here reference the animator from the visual game object and select the controls game object, and also reference the animation manager script from the animation game object. And now let's start the game and see what we have created here. Alright, so let's apply some movement. Let's jump, move, be in idle, in air. Okay, so it works and looks actually pretty cool. Now that part of the video is actually not necessary for a state machine, but I think that's still pretty cool to add it at this point. So having the camera angle like this inspired me to create a top-down camera which follows the player smoothly with a small delay, and that's what we're gonna do now. So create a subfolder in scripts and call it camera. In there create the script camera control and put it on our camera. Okay, so that script is actually pretty much straightforward here. We have a vector 3 offset, smooth time, and a target, and all of them can be assigned from the inspector. We're also gonna need the private vector 3 velocity and just set it to vector 3.0, and also a private vector 3 previous target position. In the start function, we want to set the camera position to the target position plus the offset vector, and also assign the target.position to our previous target position to be able to perform the smooth camera follow. And the late update, we check if we have a target, so it does exist and it's not null, so we basically have something to follow. And if we have a target, then calculate the target movement, just to know in which direction the camera position should be updated to. Then we need the target position, and once we have that, we basically assign the vector 3.smoothDump with the current position, the target position, and reference that to our velocity. And then we have the smooth time in here, so we follow the target smoothly. And after that, reassign the target.position to our previous target position. So in every late update frame, or like basically every late update call, our camera gets a new position and follows the player pretty smoothly. Okay, so let's get back to Unity and click on the main camera gear object. And then here we need to change the offset a bit and the smooth time and also the target. So let's reference our player to the target, and then we can start the game and see what happens. So our camera is actually locked on the player right now. And what we need to change is the offset right here. So scale it a little bit up on the y-axis. And as we can see, our camera rises up. And now go back on the z-axis a bit to be behind the player. If you want to have like exact that reference, you need to take the y-axis of the camera, and of the player, you need to take that value here, the z-axis value of the position, go to camera, go to offset, and basically minus that. And if we start the game, there we go. And if we move, the camera is actually pretty much locked on the player, but we can rise up the smooth time to, let's say, 0.5. And as you can see, the camera follows smoothly. Pretty nice. All right, that's it. Our state machine is now set up with various states such as jump, idle, move, and interaction, and many others. The things get more complex once you delve deeper and create custom states, but the foundation of that has now been laid, and you can easily build your own states. I hope you enjoyed that little series of state machine, and of course I hope everything could be understood so far. If there are any questions regarding the state machine or like the camera or anything else, please feel free to use the comment section down below. And yeah, have fun building that. Have a nice day.